Great. Wow. The sounds good. I think it's time we start now. It's 5 minutes over the 35. So I'm ready to tell you a little bit of, how we work with, how we enable the shop floor to really help us on our two very important things to be more efficient, always in operations to be more efficient, and also work with sustainability. And I'm really pleased to be here and see so many people also come after lunch. The worst hour to start speaking at is just after lunch. So anyway, before we start, I would tell you a little bit of, shortly about the Lego Group, because obviously many of you know who we are, but you look a little bit older than our core audience. So that's why I think it's good you get a tour down the memory lane and see a little bit about the company. First of all, as I said, what is Lego today? What's really important to us as a company, and how we do it, and that's the things I will talk to the next half an hour. There's a short movie here, and just enjoy, and then I'll be back in 35 seconds.
Oh, bricks.
Woke up this morning with a thought in my head. If things ain't working, why not fix them instead?
Surprise, kiddos!
Me and my girls can do it. We won't quit. Building a better world, brick by brick. And we can build it up. Girls on a mission and we won't let go. Girls on a mission.
I think I've got it. Let's build!
H-E-A-R-T, we got H-E-A-R-T, we got heart.
Stop! Focus, everyone.
Hey! Let's go! H-E-A.
Whoa, that's not good.
H-E-A-R-T.
Oh, this is so cool!
H-E-A-R-T, we got H-E-A-R-T, we got heart.
Looks like you get a perfect score.
Outstanding.
H-E-A-R-T.
Okay, that's enough.
So that was enough. Really, Lego is a proudly Danish-owned company. We were founded in 1932, so as you can remember, we just turned 90 years. This year we will turn 91 years. And we're preparing for the big thing that goes on in 9 years, where we'll have our 100 years anniversary. Lego is actually a company that originated from, a Danish term, when it really means play well. And we have been number one reputational brand in Rep Talk, if you know that one, for several years, on where the consumer experience, you live up to the consumer experience and get that a price we are super humble about. We are in 120 countries, and we are truly global because Lego never acquired another company, so it's the same processes and the same products we sell around the world. So that's our company. We are around more than 24,000 employees today, and in 2021 we were announced as one of the most influential companies in the world when we started to produce our fantastic Lego brick in recycled plastic, actually in recycled PET. And if you don't know what PET is, that is the thing we all go around with, and in the plastic bottles, where we're using that to make Lego brick. So out of a average size half liter, a liter. So two normal plastic bottles, you can make 8 Lego bricks. So it's actually for us an opportunity to really, use plastic in another way that has been done over many, many years. And I'll come a little bit back to that. Over the last decade, and especially in COVID, we have been growing a lot. We actually, in COVID times, grew 50%. And after post-COVID here, we also had tremendous growth rates. As you also can see here, we are tapping into not only children, even though I said you look a little bit older than our core audience, then actually 12% of adults buy Lego for own use. And it's an increasing number of, probably kids that got older. We all get older. They continue to have the hobby of building. And I don't know if you've seen this show, but it travels around the world, Lego Masters, on many seasons of competition in different builds. As I just told you, we have just turned 90 years, and just a little bit historical. Lego started as a wooden toy and then turned into plastic, and now we have done that for 90 years, and we of course also expect to be here the next 90 years. Then, much more into where Lego is in the world. As I said, it's a global company, so we have our headquarters in Denmark, but then we have hubs around the world, and then we have factories, which I will talk a little bit into more today. We have currently 6 factories that is running, and then we are building 2. So you see, actually one of those there's 7 totally here, but it's one of them is already up and running a bit. So currently factories in Denmark, Hungary, Mexico, and China, and building right now, as we speak, 2 factories, one in Vietnam and one in Virginia in US. And then we have all the sales offices and a lot of own stores, and continuously growing our own Lego stores. What we stand for as a company is very much this: children. Children is our role model, and I'm really not here to discuss school systems, but there's a tendency around the world that school systems de-learn creativity, and we need to learn stuff that computers and machine already can do for us. However, if you see the creativity of children, those of you that have children will know that they combine things that grown-ups haven't even thought of, and that get new ideas. And if you cannot remember anything of what I say, then sometimes listen to the next generation. They come with many great things that we take for granted. It's somehow like their creativity is given up when we grow up, and at least for many people. But we see it as role models, and often enjoy having kids around to tell us how to do stuff, which is amazing. Then we also know that the skills needed is some of the things we actually hope we can contribute with our products, and that is these skills that has been announced and known for years. That problem solving, creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration is something that is needed for this century we're in. Actually, I think that you see that on the fair here today, and we know Lego products cater for this very much, because it's actually one of the few things you can give your kids. Some both speaks to the right brain and the left brain, so both the mathematically and the creative skills. So that's some of the things we really do, and we've done that for generations now, especially in Europe, where we launched our first days. We are now talking fourth generation of parents that have enjoyed a moment with our products and their kids. Then last commercial slide here for me is just our products. So if you get tempted and a little bit brainwashed by me, then before you go home, you probably, hopefully, go by a toy store and buy something. But a lot of these things are our own IPs, which is also a part of our creativity. Of course, we tap in to great partners like Disney, Lucas movies and Star Wars and stuff like that, but we also develop a lot of stories ourselves. One of the most famous one is, of course, Ninjago. That's been in the market for many years now. So that's just so you see the products. Then what I'm here to talk about is, of course, our strategic priorities, and I'll talk about the next 20 minutes. The company has 4 strategic priorities, well, things that we need to win on if we want to stay relevant to the consumers and the customers. They're all given here. First of one is, of course, to continuously innovate our products. The toy business is very much driving by novelties and newness, and actually 60% of our product assortment is new every year. We, of course, want to innovate retail. As some of you might have seen, that the traditional toy specialists shops that was around when I was a kid, they have a hard time these days. So, of course, and the last 10 years, like in other business, a lot have become e-commerce. But we have opened a number of stores and have committed to be able to deliver a physical presence as well. So we want to innovate that. The retail business, we have done that several times, also relaunching our Lego.com site that has a lot of users, around 400 million users every year. And then what I'm here to talk about is the next 2. So really the digital transformation of operations, what I'm in, so the IoT part, and also how we want to use IoT to give a positive environmental impact because we really mean it. By 2032, we want to give more carbon or use more carbon CO2 that we actually produce ourselves. So we want to have, we really mean it when we go out and say that we want to have a positive environmental impact now. And it's not to criticize a lot of others, but a lot of say we want to be carbon neutral in 2050. But how many of us is around in 2050 to really live to that commitment? So we want to do it now, and we do very shortly. And I will talk how we use IoT really to be more efficient. First of all, when we started up the entire journey on becoming a digital, much more digital, we knew as a 90-year-old company, we're not born digital. We're actually born in a very analog world where, the industry we use, injection molding, is super solid. It's actually probably on the top of its S-curve and need a lot of inspiration to become, digital. We defined it a way that we needed to reinvent the whole way we look at digital products and IT, and we did this with this definition. So we built a new definition that everyone could see themselves in around the company. So a digital product is like a physical product that constantly need to develop and is owned both by the business and the digital organization. So we want to have, instead of one wall-to-wall solution, and I'm not going to criticize a German partner in three letters we have been working with for decades, but we have built that from wall to wall and actually got a little bit locked in many decisions by just having one software supplier. We actually want to do it much more product-based and develop a lot of more products that really cater for the need of the users, both buying standard software but also develop ourselves. And very much, as I said here, it has to be guided by the place it's going to be needed. So either it's if we do something for the shopper, we do something for our consumers, we do something for our partners, or internally for us as colleagues. It's something we realize never stops evolving, so we will constantly release new things very fast. And then it's, as I said, owned by the business and IT. That's our first definition. Then we also realized this promise, as I told you, that we know now that being a sustainable company, there will be more or less a license for operating. So if you are not sustainable, we think actually that would be a thing that you really need to constantly work on. Otherwise, you will be risk being out of business. We have said already, and we are now, we want to be, have 100% use on renewable energy, either from wind turbines or solar powers. And then already by 32, all our products should be made of sustainable materials, either from, a feedstock that is not of crude oil, or it's recycled plastics. So that's the two main challenges I will talk how we solve with IoT. And here you have a picture inside my factory. The first really big thing is, of course, to understand how we do this in a smart and sustainable way. We want to connect all these machines and get them, connected. And here you see just a snapshot of some of them, but globally we have more than 4,000 molding machines. And of course they have been bought regularly. So those of you that work with IoT know when I say that they're not bought at the same time, then there's, the components and the way to connect them is very much different. Even though the configuration of those machines are very different. They also come from 3 different suppliers. So now the complexity starts, and there's a lot of different sizes of the molding machines. So a lot of complexity come into just connecting these machines, but that's our ambition. Right now we have connected 600 out of 4,000, and we continuously connect the machines every day. It's not only the machines, because as some of you can see, maybe you cannot see that on this picture, but there's a lot of auxiliary equipment, how you dry the material, how you use grinders to reuse some of the other materials. So there's a lot of auxiliary equipment you need to connect as well. But we try really to do this. Anyway, we started, first of all, also to introduce a factory device. And I will speak the next 10 minutes around this factory device. We really looked a long time to, what should we do of factory devices? Should we buy an industrial rugged device, or should we really go for a consumer device? And as you can see here, we ended up choosing an iPhone as the one that all my operators have. So if you come to visit me at my factory, you'll see all my operators, they have a iPhone. And that's around 700 operators in 5 shifts. And they all work with an iPhone where they get information on the shop floor, because we really realized that we need to have the information in the moment where the shop floor worker needs it. And they never, of course we had lab PCs in production before, but it's not a natural thing for when you stand working on a machine, need to go to a desk and do something. So that's why when you work, the size of a smartphone is something that really could work on, and that's why we choose this size of device. I will talk a little bit why it was the iPhone, how it really supports our efficiency and sustainability, as I promised, and then I will talk about working agile, because this is probably the most important for us to be able to succeed on this journey. So first of all, why did we pick the iPhone? And I'm not, it's not a commercial for Apple or anything, so I don't even have stocks. So when we started to have this, as I said, we wanted to have one device philosophy. So we didn't want to do a lot of application for, many different hardware producers, many different iOSs. So we already had, our digital organization had a long experience by using the iPhone, because that was what all, salaried employees had, everyone had an iPhone. So that was the reason why we took it. We had a fantastic collaboration with Apple to be able to turn off different functionalities so we can really manage this device. So for example, we don't want a camera because we have a lot of confidentiality in our production, so we don't want our pictures to end up anywhere, anywhere. So we didn't want internet functions, so we didn't want operators, not because we don't trust them, because we have a lot of young people, and you know what young people then do? When they have a phone, they go like this. So that's why, and old people as well. So we didn't want people just to go, so we turned off the internet. There was also, but still able to scan barcodes, because that's super important for us. A lot of course, also what we talk about here, cybersecurity and safety updates need to be done frequently. We need to control the updates, because that's some of the issues, and actually something we still struggle with when Apple just roll out an iOS update that our program still works. And we had a lot of knowledge of how to run with the iOS, and we did not that with Android, so that was fun. And we know we're one of the first to be your first movers in using the iPhone as a really industrial device. Also, the fantastic Bluetooth technology makes sure that we could, take away a lot of expensive devices on forklift and stuff like that, where we could have a remote scanner, where you need to scan shelves and stuff like that. So we could do that with Bluetooth technology. So a lot have been the reason why we took this one, and it's really working. And the good thing is, when it breaks, it's easy to buy a new one instead of just waiting for, digital components for some special industrial device. So that's, I know it sounds like a commercial, but it's really not. Then, agile. I think I need to talk about why we work agile. Lego have worked in many years in the traditional waterfall way, in the way when we develop software. Typical thing, a lot of business requirements was built. When IT was ready to launch, business has moved on. A lot of change requests, a lot of costs, overrun, delays. That was our everyday life. The first one. So you could also say we wanted a wheel, we got a very boring car, no one really liked it, stood on the shelf, not used, a lot of functionality developed, no one really used it. Then we went agile. We know that we had a mode of transportation we wanted, so that's just the example here. We tried different things, prototyping, we ended up having, maybe I ended up having a bike, just play with me here, but we ended up having a super cool convertible car, also electrical. So a lot of cool stuff went on in this way with many iterations. So that was the way we start to work. And the biggest thing is here, of course, to get my operators on this journey, because they got stuff out that did not work 100%. They were used to have something that worked 100%. Now they get something out that only worked 80%. And maybe there will be functionality that not even developed yet. But that's the way we work now. And of course, we work with MVPs and sprint. So a new release on a prototype happens every 7th week or every 4th week. there's new functionality launched, and then of course we train the operators constantly in doing this. That gives another demand, because traditionally we have done a lot of classroom training, but we also learned that that is not really possible and super expensive. So we need to find new ways of training, and also developing now software for much more, guided training that has to be easy. Still, everything needs to happen on a mobile screen. We don't want people to, sit and do stuff. So a lot of more videos and things, the way you train the people, has been developed. Also for the newcomers that come, in some of our areas we have up to 40 to 50% of people doing seasonal work for us, because as you know, Christmas is only one time a year. I wished we could spread it out. So Spain have January, France have no. But Christmas one time a year, so we have a huge peak. That means we have seasonal workers coming in that we need to train very fast. And that's also where we use software much better now than a lot of classroom trainings. Anyway, then, as I said, here's an example of what we have done. So there's an app we use here at the factory. We need to change a lot in one of our systems, what we call the production monitoring system. We started building 2 apps, and now that was the first thing we did. And then in 2 weeks, we just rolled out a new, so integrate the apps, something we learn when you roll out, so simplify the products. Simple products roll out, you found out it's actually a good idea to integrate them then. So after 4 weeks, we integrated 2 products into 1 product, and in this case, we call it Molding Plus. So also the logic, when we use the iPhone, we use the same logic as people is used to for their, private apps. So some of our apps, they will look like a social media apps, because we use the same menus, the same functionalities people is used to, and that's one of the advantages using a consumer products, that our operators do not need to train a lot of, engineers that develop strange stuff. We try to do as much as this as a consumer product. And so that gives a lot of easy learning. Then, here in the last part of my presentation, I will talk a little to how it's actually really supporting our vision of being more sustainable and more, efficient. So one of the apps we have developed, we have 12 apps, 12 products that we have developed for our factory device, and I brought the 4 most popular here. The first one is one we call the reason code, and that is, if there's a stop in production, I need my operators to find out and log what's happened, really to drive better problem solving. This is getting a lot of efficiencies that we're now doing is standardized, and that means actually, I don't waste a lot of energy in trying different stop-ups, so this is giving constant energy savings, and I don't think I need to tell you all that those of you that are in the industry, one of our biggest things these days is energy costs, like we do privately as well. That's also one of the biggest things so everything I can do to save on electricity, I do, and the first one here has helped me a lot on that one. Logging activities, so also categorizing things, finding out where the problem is, again, really showing how, is it a quality issue, is it a machine issue, also giving much more problem solving, and that's also giving to my energy efficiency, so less consumption. The next one is actually one thing we do a lot in Lego. So if you think of it, and maybe you saw that in the beginning, that was to see if you actually really followed what I said. We have a lot of different colors. So we do the same Lego brick in many colors. You probably have seen that. So we have 56 different colors in Lego, and we have 13 different materials. That gives a lot of changeover in a production, because of course our designers, they can agree that they all want different colors. So if we can do that changeover much more efficient, I can save a lot of costs. In old days, before we had the app, a operator need to update 9 different systems to do a changeover. Today they can just do one, scan a QR code, and then they get things updated. So a huge cost efficiency by having an app ready, so they can do that at the machine. And then last one that I'm super proud of that I brought here, that's something I think our best invention. That's doing differentiated quality control. I think something all production leaders dream of, because we traditionally do a lot of quality control that's not really needed. We did that as well. So we did fully mechanically. We took tests, tested it. We did a regular test, and we did not really look at the result of the test. We just did the test in few hours, because that was what we have done many years. We now developed an app that tells that where you take a sample. Based on the sample, we have built an algorithm that tells you when to do the next test. So of course, if there's no errors, the sample was good. The more time you do that, the longer it is until you do the next test. That's a fantastic invention. It has saved me a lot, both on how many operators are new to this and the things I scrap. Actually, my quality has improved, and people say, how can you improve the quality by doing less testing? We can simply see that, there's been too much being scrapped that was where people think that was not good enough, but it was actually good enough. Because it's visual control. And if you know something about plastic, it could be a small scratch or something that's not really needed. So we have saved a lot not to scrap good enough products. So that's why I say this is both about sustainability and cost efficiency. And just to tell you a little bit how we work Agile, and that will be almost the last slide here for me. So the way we did it, when we did this app, we started with a good idea. A lot of work around how we should do it. We even developed a bigger device, of course, as when you develop the app, or the product, we start to have an iPad-sized device. I thought, that's not really working for the operator. Then we came to, the first, you see here in 2021, with our first launch of the device. And now we are launching here the second. Last year we launched the second version, and it's globally implemented. And I know this is unfortunately in Danish, the picture I have here, but you see a lot of information is given onto to an operator when they stand working, so they can get all this on their screens. Yeah, that was it. Then I actually thought you should have some fun facts, because many of you, when you come home tonight, you said you met these strange Lego guys. There's one thing here. Those 6 bricks here, they can combine in more than 915 million combinations. That's why we call it endless creativity. Right? Secondly, last year, believe it or not, we produced more than 190 billion Lego bricks globally. And you can see how many that adds per minute and per second. Here's, Joe say, 20 different types of materials. We actually have a little bit more. And we have around 56 different colors. Our quality target, so it's really super high. So we do not have a lot of scrap on our quality. This is parts per million. So we do, that's our quality is really, really high. And then you can see it ended up also, I only have the numbers for 2020 here, in more than 370 million boxes that were shipped by Santa Claus around the world. So that's a fantastic data. I think that was what I had, and time is also up. So thanks for listening to me. And I know there's a couple of minutes, and I don't think we ask questions in here. So I'll be around for a few minutes if someone have a question. Thank you.